It wasn't strings, was it?
Select.
No, 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 no. String? We didn't mention string. Did we mention string? I
Uh,
don't
I said
even.
select.
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 The most commonly used SQL word is select. 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 That is the most commonly used word that you would meet in your dealings with SQL. It is in almost every query. Not in every query, but not in every SQL statement, but in almost every query. It's there. Right. So let's see. Let me bring my system. Let me share my screen. Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
I'm not sure what I'm showing. What
Zoom.
I'm showing Zoom, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I don't want to show you my Zoom. You already know that. So this is basically what we did last week, right? Okay, so you have the notes for this already. So I'm going to connect to my server now. In fact, I didn't close this when we finished last week, so I'm going to connect to it so that I can have a new instance of the. Then I click on new query to open a new page for me, and this is where I'm going to be writing my I'm going to be writing our queries for today. Now, you in the database that you have, you were given this database this week. Is that correct? AdventureWorks. Is that correct?
yes. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Now, in this database, there are a number of tables. These are the tables here that we have in the database. All these here are tables. Okay? And you can decide to query any of these tables. You can decide to query any one of them at all, any one of them that you choose. But you must know what it is that you want to query. You need to know. Plus, you must also be careful when you are given a database in the beginning. You go into an organization, and then the first thing you are given is a database. And then you have to work with. You really don't know what is there. So you want to have a sense, an idea of what you have in the database. Okay. Now, to do that, you would need to use your select statement to query the database. So the first thing we will do is select. Let me see this. Query one. Now, when I do this, I'm only commenting the query out. When I put these marks there, the hyphens, they just comment out the statement. So when I run the query, it doesn't affect the query. Okay? You would see when we go on that there will be a difference in color between this commented one and uncommented one. So for example, what we commented last week, all of them, you see they have this color here. But as we progress, you would see that the uncommented ones would have a different coloration. So this is just saying that I want to comment that statement so that if and when I run the query, it doesn't run with the query. Or simply put, if I execute, that bit, that part should not get executed. Okay. Right. So when you write the select statement, last week we said that, you see, this is now blue, right? So all those statements that you want to run would have different coloration or different from commented ones, okay? We did mention that SQL is case insensitive, so that this is the same as that. This is the same as that. Okay? It's the same thing. I've intentionally mixed it up. It is case insensitive. But let me just be a little bit nice with it. So this is the same as that. It doesn't matter which one you choose to use. I, however, prefer to use the capital, the uppercase, for my keywords. It doesn't mean that you should do the same. You can decide to use lowercase. It wouldn't affect your results in any way, shape, or form. So the first query we're going to write is we want to select everything in a table. To select all. Do we know what is in the table? We don't know. But let me just open this up and see. Right. So what we have in this particular table, account, is what? The primary key of the account alternate key, parent, account description, account type, operator, customer, member, expression, employee key, etc. Okay, let's look for something a little bit more. Let's say we want to, let's start with something we can easily understand. Right, let's look at this one. This is an employee table, okay? So the columns in the table are employee key, that's the primary key. I would explain that as we move on. The primary key, employee national number or national ID, parent, employee, that the first name, last name, middle, all that. All of these things are there. Right? Okay, so if you are given a database for the very first time, you wouldn't know exactly what is in there, but you want to have a sense of what is there so that you are able to run appropriate queries. And that is when you use the select all. You select everything. You want to have a sense of everything. So there are two main ways by which you can do that. You can, if you like, copy out each of these. So select, what shall we say? Employee ID, employee key, employee national ID alt. Let me see what it says there. If we want to write all these things, you would agree with me, it would take a long, long time, wouldn't it? But let's try. Let me just choose a few. Let me just select a few so that we can play with a few, right? So let's say we select, okay, let me check. Now, one thing, when you are using a management, a DBMS, you need to select your database. Let me close this back. So this is the database. This is where the databases are stored. Okay. In this database, there are three main databases. In this system, there are three databases. This, that, and that. These are the databases in the system. 1, 2, 3. Can you all see that? This is the one that you were given this week. This one here. And that is what we want to start working with. Okay. So when I open up that table, when I open up the employee table, you would agree with me that there were a whole lot of columns. If you want to write all of that, it will take a lot of time. But let's just select a few. Let's just assume that in selecting a few, we have selected all. So let's say we select person ID. And then you select employee number. Employee number. Okay, there was something I wanted to do and then I didn't. I went into another mode. Right, so we need to change our data source. We are writing a query on this database. But you would see the source here. This is where the data source is shown. This is the data source that we are using. Now, we cannot be writing our query from the master. The master is the general, okay? We can't be doing that. We need to select the data source that we want to use. So when you click on this trickle arrow, it comes up with the databases you have there. And then you can select that. Okay? You can also write it as use, and then you write the name of the database that you want to use. Yes, Bingpe.
Yeah, sorry
Bingpe.
to take you back a bit. Yeah. Sorry to
Yeah,
take you
go
back a
on.
bit. The button you click just now, where we select the database we're working with, is blank. It's unclickable, right?
Your one is unclickable.
Yes.
Are you connected to your server?
Yes, I am. I can
Share
see
your
the
screen, let's see.
files. Okay. This is it.
Okay, Bingpe, wait. You see where it says connect?
Yeah. This
Come
one.
one step out of that. You see where it says, no, just, you see there's something like an arrowhead on the right. Yeah, click on that.
This one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then connect to connect. Yeah, you haven't connected to your server yet.
I have. Is it connected now?
Pardon?
It's connected, right?
It's connected, yeah? Connect. Go back. Let me see. Let me see whether you have your server name correctly written.
This is a server name.
Pardon?
This is a server name.
Okay. I'm not sure your server name is correctly written.
Mm. Let me sort it out. Let me drag
Pardon?
it back.
It
I'll
doesn't
try.
look like your server
Okay,
name
maybe I
is.
will.
Okay, Olabi, is that the name of your Olabimpe?
System. Yeah, that's the name. This is
Click
the
on
name.
that again. Let's see. Click on this thing again. Let's see. So it's not just Olabimpe that is there.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
see Olabimpe, is that a /del?
Yeah, there's a slash SQL Express. Mhm.
I'm not sure what your issue might be.
Very high.
But we can arrange a time tomorrow, maybe after after our meetings tomorrow, to look at it.
Right.
With who was the first lady? Were you the person? Who was the lady we?
Janet.
Yeah, we can arrange a time with Janet. Yes, Remy.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Godwin.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good evening.
Yeah, I also have the same issue connecting and all that, so I just want to signify probably after the meeting tomorrow.
Okay. It could also be your security. Click on your security. Click on the security, the plus in front of security, not the first security, the second one. You see, there are two security features there.
Wait, here.
Now come down.
Okay. This one.
Yeah. Wait, let me see. Click on the plus in front of server roles. Let's see. No, it's not there. Close that one. Click on the logins. I'll close that one too. Okay, let me have a look at this. I'll have a look at this so that we can sort it out tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank
It should be either your security or your server name.
you.
Right. So we can choose to write out everything. If we want to do a select all statement, we can choose to write out everything that we have in the column. So when I open this back,
You're not sharing,
You're not sharing your
please.
screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh gosh. That was quick. Where is the okay, share? Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay. So, if we look at it, where is it? Tables. These are the various tables there. Should we choose employee? We said employee. Okay, so let's see. All these are employee details. We can and what is the name of who knows what the name of this table is? What is dim employee? Okay. All right, so we can decide. Let's select employee ID, employee. You know what? Let me do something first. Don't worry about this. Let me do something first. I just want to have a sense. Okay, so these are all these you see here, employee key, this is everything that is here. Everything that is here. So we can decide to say we want employee key. I'm not going to write everything. It's just going to waste our time. Employee key. Employee key. Parent employee key. Let's say first name. First name. First name. Last name. Title. Title. Hire date. Hire date. Birth date. Right. So let's just assume. Let's assume here. Let's just make this assumption, okay? That this is we've selected all the column headers. Now the column headers are also called the attributes in the table. These are the attributes. Everything here, these are the attributes. All of these. So employee key, parent employee key, employee national ID, alternate key. All of these are called attributes, okay? So let's assume that by this, we have selected all of these headers, all these attributes, right? If we run this, if we execute this query, we should have that. So let's just for now assume that what we have here is the same as what we had before. Okay? Let's just make that assumption. Now you would also notice that I did something to get what we had before. So this, when you want to select everything, it is the same as select this here. The star here indicates everything. Select all. That is a short form for that. So you would see that whilst this one would have taken us ages to complete, this is just a short form of it, right? So select all from. And then remember last week we said there are two important keywords in every select statement. Two, not only important, but mandatory. Select and from. These are mandatory. In a select statement, these two keywords, you cannot do without the from. Because where will you be selecting from? You have to select from somewhere. You can't just select from nowhere. So your selection has to be from somewhere. And that somewhere is the table. In this particular instance, this is the table that we have decided to use. And that table is called dim employee. Don't worry about the word dim. It simply means dimensional. Okay? So this query here, assuming we wrote all the attributes in this select statement, assuming we wrote everything, this statement would be the same as this one. So if we just run this, we get our original results back. And this gives us every single thing that we have in the database. Okay? So this is where we use the select all. This is called select all. Whilst this one is a restricted selection, as you have just seen. So if I want to just select a few attributes, that is when I use this. We can use this one here just to restrict the number of attributes that we want to show. So in this particular case, now forget about the assumption that we made that in this select statement, everything was there. The reality is that not everything is there, right? We have made some selections. We have selected a number of attributes. So this is a restricted view of what is in the table, right? So that is a restricted selection, restricted number of columns. So just as we can restrict the number of columns, we can also restrict the number of rows. Let me call this A. Okay. So let's restrict the number of rows. Then why should we do that? Very, very important. And this one, this thing that what I'm going to tell you now is a highly likely interview question. Restricting the number of roles selected. Why should you restrict the number of roles selected? Why should you do that? Why would you want to do that? Now, assuming you have been employed by Google or Facebook or Twitter to run a query to work on their database. Okay, let me go one step back. Now, we said that you would do a select all. For what reason? Let
To
me ask
include
that
everything
question.
together?
Pardon?
Is it to include everything together?
But why would you want to do that? It's not just because you want everything. There's a reason why you want to select everything. Now, and that reason is because you initially want to have a sense of what is in the database. Right. Not everything in the database will be useful to you or may be useful to you, but you simply want to have a sense of what is there so that you are able to run different queries. So you see that here we restricted, in this case, we restricted the number of attributes, right? Now, we wouldn't have been able to restrict the number of attributes if we didn't know that the table has got an employee key, a first name, a last name, a title. Okay? And also, remember last week, I said that there are user-defined words, right? Now, these here are user-defined words. And remember that we also said the user-defined words in your query or in your queries must be the same as you have in the table. So assuming I wanted to write last name and I left out the T, it would not work. Immediately you see that it's been there's an error line showing here. Right? So you want to have a sense of what is in the table so that you write your queries properly. Is that right? And also so that you just write queries to suit the reason for which you are writing the query. So assuming your manager gave you this table and told you, Janet, give me the names, titles, and employment start date of all employees in this organization. What's the question? Janet, give me the names of give me the first name, or give me the names, titles, and start date of all employees in the organization. If you give this table to your employer, they would immediately know that you don't know what you're doing. Why is that the case? Because you have produced results that have not been requested. The question is, provide the name, the title, and the start date. So if I were you, Janet, what will you be looking to produce in that question? As a result, what result will you be looking to produce? Janet is in the kitchen. Hello? Can I have a reaction, please?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so did you hear the question?
Yes, I heard. I would be looking to produce the exact thing that was requested for the first name and their um the other one.
What was the question, Janet?
You said if has to produce the first name and the particular information of all the staff in the organization. What would
Okay,
that?
who can help Janet out?
Yes, sorry, was it the first name and the start date?
Yeah, start dates here.
Anybody, can anybody help? Was it Jack? Janet and Jack?
I think you said first name. I think you said names, then hire date, and did you say?
Oh,
I think it was
title.
names and title and
Title
start
and
date.
start date, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I said name,
Title,
and
start
hire
date.
date. So what will you be looking to produce?
Yeah, so what you asked for, so that does that mean that you take off the employee key, take off the birth date
Birth date.
and just keep it as
The
take off
person
employee?
just says produce the name, the title, and the hire date. So all you produce is the first name, last name, middle name, title, hire date. That's all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. That's all that you produce. If you go and do a select all and then you produce everything for your manager, is this what I really asked you to do? Are you sure you are a data analyst? You get the point. So instructions are very, very important. Right. So that is restricting the columns. Okay, we can restrict the columns that we produce. In much the same way, we can restrict the number of rows. Now we are trying to get a sense of why we would need to restrict the number of rows. And I just said that, assuming you are employed by Google or Facebook or Twitter, these are quite big organizations. How many people do you think are on Facebook as at today?
Millions. I'll
Any
say.
guess? Did
5
somebody
million?
pardon?
About 5 million maybe?
5 million? Are you kidding me?
Or is that is that less or more?
5 million? That is less than a small country. Facebook. We are talking about Facebook.
Maybe half of the
Billion.
world's population. I mean, billion maybe.
Oh,
3
are you talking about
billion.
that work or that's on Facebook?
No, I think
Exactly.
Facebook users, right?
Oh, Facebook
Is that what
users.
you were
Oh, okay.
asking? Okay. I
Yeah,
think in the
billions,
billions,
maybe. Yeah,
yeah.
billions.
We're talking in billions. We are talking in billions. Now, the reason why we are able to do a select all statement here very easily is we look at the number of rows, look at the number of results produced. How many? What number do you see here? See where the cursor is moving? Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
How many? What number do you see there?
296 rows.
296 only. I mean, that is a drop in the ocean compared to what Facebook would produce. If you are to do a select all statement on a Facebook database, chances are that you would crash the system. You would need so much computing space that no other person probably would be able to work on the Facebook server, probably for that day, if you don't crash the system. Because the number of the results you will be looking to produce will be in billions. Right. So if Facebook hasn't got that capacity on their server, then what is going to happen? You're going to crash the system. So it's not just for Facebook. It's for any organization that you go into. If you do not know what is in the database, you never in the beginning do a complete select all. So this, for example, is a full select all. Full. Now you're telling the system that give me everything that is in this table. All right? Give me every single thing that is inside of this table. That is what you are telling the system to do. So if there were 10 billion records, you'll be telling the system, by now my computer would have frozen. I don't have that computing space on this laptop. Right? So you don't do that. You never do a complete select all statement when you go into an organization, simply because you don't in the beginning know what is in the database. At the moment, I was able to do it because I knew that the results produced aren't many. It's only 296. Even if it's in thousands or even up to millions, it's still okay. Right? But when you are getting into hundreds of tens and hundreds of millions, then that becomes an issue. You simply don't want to do that. If you go into an organization for the first time and you do that, you could crash the computing system of the organization. And you don't want to do that. So what then do you do? There are a number of commands you can run with your select all. Now, depending on the DBMS that you are using, you can either do a top, limit, or fetch. I would explain these words. So, for SSMS, SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, what you can do, so restricting, okay, select, let me write a query and then I would explain. Select top 10. Select top 10 of all. From dim employee. What have I just done? I have told the system, let's see, let me not tell you what this would come up with. Let's execute it and see what we will get. What have we gotten now?
Is it the top 10 employees?
We've produced only the top 10. You can, if you use 5 here, you will just get the top 5. If you do a 5, you will get a top 5. If you do 100, you will get a top 100. But do you need to do 100? No. Now, the reason why you do this is you want to have a sense of what is in the database. You want to know the various attributes. These are the main things you will be working with. The attributes: employee key, parent employee key, employee national. These are the attributes. These are the things you will be working with. Okay? So you want to have a sense of what you have in the database. So with this now, you know that these are there. These are the things that are in the database. Now this works, this syntax works with SSMS. Okay. Now if you have a Microsoft MySQL, if you want to use MySQL, of course we are not using MySQL, so we can't run that. But I'll just show you how that would work. So in that case, you can also do a select all. Select all from, choose the table name. I know it's not going to work. That's why I'm commenting it out. Okay. Let me do this first. Let me do it this way. And then we did a select a top 10, right? Limit 10. Okay. It's not going to work in SSMS. Obviously, that is why it's on the this variance. I did mention last week that SQL is portable with slight syntax changes depending on the management studio you are using. So this is one of the syntax change. This syntax here would work in my what is it called? My SQL. Okay, this would work in my SQL. Now, there is another syntax that works with Oracle. Oracle has got quite a few versions, actually. You know, Oracle is one of the oldest database management systems. It's one of the oldest, so it has a few variances. Now, with Oracle, what is going to happen is you have select. You can select all from table. Let me just copy this. Right? And then you can do you can use the fetch. Fetch. First. 10. Numbers only. Only. 10 number rows only. This would work for Oracle. But Oracle has got various variants of this. I don't want to, we are not using Oracle, so I wouldn't go into the details. Okay. Okay, now let's also look at something. Let me go into a different database. Let me change my data source. One A, 1B, 1C. Restricting the number of rows. So this is restricting the number. Okay. Number 2. Use of distinct. Before we do this, let's look at something. I want to switch database so that I'm able to explain this a little bit better. Assuming I say, for example, that select all from training. Let me see what is there in this table. SQL training. Okay, so then, okay, I get it. Training. I just want the correct thing to use. Okay. It's not what I want to use. It's not in this. It's in that. This is the table I want to use. Okay. Right. So let's run this query and see what we're going to have. So we have a number of courses here. This is as you're all aware, BlueSky Citadel is an educational institution, right? Providing high quality, high level education for IT students. Now you would see here, take for example this. Look at this column, for example. or even look at that. Okay, if I were to tell you to select, this is what we have in the training database. If I were to tell you to select just the course ID, select just the course ID, course ID. From the training database. Select the course ID from the training database. Let's see what we would get. This is what we have. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yes.
Okay. What sense does it make to you?
We'll wholly select the information requested for rather than selecting everything.
Okay. So assuming that your employer were to tell you, okay, how many records do we have?
327.
327. Okay. But are there 327 courses offered by the institution? Do you think there are 327 courses?
No.
So,
Why is that? Why do you say no?
Because the course ID, from what I have seen on screen, is 1. So that indicates that there is probably only 1 course.
Oh, no. That's what that's the view you are seeing, right? There are other numbers.
Oh, I can see up the numbers. Okay, too.
Yeah. There are other numbers. In fact, there are 3, 4, 7, 6 other numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe just a wild guess then. It would be probably be impossible for there to be 327 courses anyway.
Okay, it's not. So what do you this here has it produces a lot of repetition, a lot of redundancy, right? You don't need, when your manager tells you for example, how many courses are taught in BlueSky Citadel, you're not going to count the courses by individual students. So for example, let's say, where's my screen? Let me see if I can get let me see, bring this back up. Let me see if I can get this. Where is it? Where are you? I'm looking for the part of my screen that, because I'm sharing, I can't see what is this, I can't see the people on Zoom. Okay, I think that is it. No, that's not it. Okay, let's see. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
yes.
All right. So assuming you are told to produce the number of courses produced by BlueSky Citadel, are you now going to start counting? Janet does data analysis. So you count 1, data analysis 1 for Janet. You count data analysis again for Fulusho. You count data analysis again for Bukola David. You count it again for Jack. Are you going to do that? Is that what you would do?
No.
No, that is not what you would do. That is what this query is doing. That is what this query here is doing. So that doesn't make sense. Okay, it doesn't make sense at all. So what do you do to get around this? That is where the use of the distinct keyword comes into play. The use of the distinct keyword comes into play here. And how do we use it? I'm just going to copy and paste. All you do is to put the keyword here, distinct. Select distinct course ID from training. Select the specific course. Select just the course ID, not the number of people doing a particular course. You don't want to go that route. You want to select the courses that a school or the institution offer is offering. So you just want the courses, so if 100 people are doing mathematics, you're not going to count mathematics 100 times. But that is what this first query has done. It has counted the number of people who are, it has counted the courses by people. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But here, if we run this statement, we run this this query, you would see what we get here. How many courses are offered by the institution?
7.
7.
7.
Not 320 something. No. The institution offers just 7 courses, not 320 something, not at all. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So we're going to get into something more serious now. We're going to go into some more serious stuff. Let me see pay elements. We're going to try to see if we can do some calculations using SQL. So if we want to do calculations, we need numeric data, right? We need numeric data. So let me select a database that has got numeric data, and that is this one here. I'm not sure whether this one can give us purely numeric data. Maybe finance can give us. Yeah. But let's use this one. That's something simple. And let's see what we have in there. Let's first of all see what we have in there. So we do our select all for that table, right? Because we know it's not much that we have in there. And that table is still under this database. So we maintain that database. This table which we want to use is in this database. So we maintain that database here. Okay? If we were to change the database, we would have to change the source of data here. The table is called pay elements. Let's see what we have in there. So here we have pay element ID, person ID, start date, job ID, end date, pay type, pay value, and so on. Do we need all of those things for calculations? No. We probably need the pay element ID. We probably need the person ID, and we also probably need just the value to perform calculations. We are going to perform why do we need element ID and person ID? So that we know who ends what. As simple as that. Assuming we didn't need that bit of information, then we will just be working on pay value. But if we work only on pay value too, then how do we relate pay value to anybody? So when you are selecting your attributes, it needs to make sense to whoever is eventually going to consume the information that you are trying to produce. So as a data analyst, you want to produce information that is simple enough and at the same time can provide a lot of information, a lot of detail, yet simple enough and also eye-catching, right? That is what you are aiming to do. So if I ask you to get me the pay elements of staff, you're not just going to work on the pay values, you're also going to have the persons who earn what. Though their names are not here, but it doesn't mean that we can't link these persons with their names. We can do that. In another lesson, we will see how that is possible. Right. So let us now go down to select something else, to do something else. Instead of select all this time, we're just going to select those attributes that we need in our query or in our result. So we want pay element ID, right? We want the pay element ID. Pay element ID. We also want the person ID. We can just choose the person ID actually, and then the pay value. So this is another restricted view of the table. It gives us just this, what we have requested for. That is what it gives us. Okay. Now, obviously, you would have seen when we run this query that some people are on salaries, whilst others are on hourly pay. Right? Forget about all of that for now. In this scenario, forget about hourly and forget about hourly and all that. Actually, we can actually restrict this so that we have only the salaried workers if we want to have parity. But we haven't done that query yet. So forget about it. We will do that query sometime. I don't think we can do that query tonight, but we can do that. We will do that query sometime next week. Okay? And then we will see how we can actually just take what we need from this attribute. Okay, forget about that for now. So if we want to do some calculations on this, assuming, for example, that I tell you that, assuming all these are yearly salaries. So a year, this person earns 55,000, 31,000. A year, this person earns £10, 45 pence only. Okay, assuming I ask you to calculate their monthly salary, what will you do? How will you write that query? Yes, anybody? Can anybody help us here with this?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Right. First of all, I want you to forget about the range of figures here. Forget about what they are, right? Assume that they are all equally weighted figures. So the reason why we have something like 10.86, 11.81 is because, and then 29,500. Some people have some salaries, some pay values have been computed as salaries, whilst others are hourly pay. Do you get the point? So this person, for example, this person here is paid £10.45 an hour, whilst this person here is paid 42,000 a year. Now I'm asking us to forget about those differences. Just see the numbers as what they are. Numbers. And assuming that all of these are yearly salaries. Assume that everything here is yearly salary. Now, I also did say that we can decide to separate the salaries from the hourly paid workers, but we haven't gotten to the stage where we would use that query yet. That is why I don't want to bring it in at this stage. We will get to it at some point, maybe next week. Right? So what will you do? How will you run this query to calculate the yearly, the monthly pay? If I tell you that you earn 36,000 a year, what is your monthly salary?
By 12.
Pardon?
You need to divide your total value by 12.
You divided the total value by 12 to get what? 3,000, right?
Yeah.
So what's here? Which of these attributes here will you divide by 12?
I'll be working with the pay value.
You divide the pay value by 12.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's all I'm asking you to do. So pay value divided by 12. If we run this query, we will get another column would be introduced. You would see. So this person here earns 4,583 pounds per month. But look at this. There is no column name. We don't have a name for the attributes here. We can decide to rewrite this query in a nicer form that makes the whole thing nice. Remember we named aliases we talked about aliases last week. Do you remember that? So we can give this here an alias. To give an alias to a user-defined word, you use the as keyword. All right? Use as keyword. So, if we run this query now, what do we get? Okay, let me run both and then you would, okay, no, let me just run this one. Does it look presentable now? I believe this looks more presentable than that one. Because if you were to give this, if you give this to your manager, they will be asking you, what is this? What does this stand for? They don't know what it stands for, right? But if you give them this here, you don't need to explain anything. They know straight away what this stands for. Okay? If I ask you to calculate their quarterly income, instead of dividing by 12, what do? You divide by 4.
Mhm.
If I ask you to calculate their salary for the next 10 years, if I ask you to if I tell you that their yearly salary increases by 10%, will you be able to do that? Yearly salary increased by 10%.
That be multiplied by 1.1.
You multiply what by 1.1?
The pay value.
Okay. Okay, let's try it. Let's actually let's try that. Let's try that. That's interesting. Let's try that. Let's try that. There's no harm in trying, is there? Pay value times 1.1. She says 1.1. Let's just call it new salary or increased salary. Increased salary. Let's see if it's gonna work. It sure did work. Okay, so that is the new salary. So you see how we can use SQL to get things done. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? No questions?
None for now.
Pardon?
None for now.
Nothing for now. I like that. Okay, let's go on. Let's carry on. Now, what is the next thing that comes in the select statement? We have select and from. These are mandatory. What comes next? Do you have your notes for last week, right?
Where?
What comes next?
Where?
What's the format of the
Where?
select statement?
Where?
Select from. What's the next thing?
Where?
Where? where. So we are going to talk, this is quite a long one. This is a really long one. I don't think we will finish that in the next. I just want to introduce this. And this is what we would have used where I said we would talk about something later. When was that? Yeah, where I said we can separate hourly work from salaried work. We could have used the where clause. But let me just introduce the where clause. It's quite a long, that could in itself take like, it could take over an hour to go through. But let me just introduce it for now, and then we can complete that next week. So what is the where clause used for? Oh, yeah, what is it used for? I've given you a hint what it is used for.
Condition.
Yeah,
To
it's a
filter rows.
some condition on what?
To filter rows.
Condition to filter rows. So we can use a where clause to filter hourly work from salaried work. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the where clause is used to restrict the roles produced from a select statement. The where clause is used to restrict the roles produced from a select statement. The where clause is followed by a search condition. One, the where clause is used to restrict the rows produced from a select statement. Two, the where clause is followed by a search condition. Now, there are 5 basic search conditions. Let me write this down for you. I'm going to send this to you as notes, actually. Okay, let me just carry on. I would update and send to you. There are 5 basic conditions. One, so that'll be 4.1. We have what is called the comparison condition. Comparison condition. We have the range condition. We have the set membership. We would explain all these in the next lesson. We have the pattern match. and we have the null. Okay, so these are the 5 main where clause conditions that we can have. Now, so what do you think the comparison condition would be? Or what is it used for? Like the name implies, it is used in comparing one expression to another. One expression to another. Now, the range condition is used in testing whether a value or an expression falls within a specified range. The set membership condition is used in testing whether an expression is within a particular set. So to test whether something belongs is a member of, let's assume that we say, what sets can we produce? Okay, let's assume we have data analysts and then we have Scrum Masters as different sets. And we want to say that Janet is a member of the data analyst class. So Janet belongs to the set called data analyst. Right? Are you getting what I'm trying to pass across? Or Bingpe belongs to a set of people who are Scrum Masters. Right? So the set membership condition is used for that. The pattern match is used to test whether a string whether a string looks like a certain pattern or whether it follows a certain pattern. We will see how all of these things work in the next lesson. For now, there isn't enough time for us to start. When I start, I will want to finish it. And the null condition tests whether a column has a null value. And this is another important concept, the concept of null. Who can tell me what null means?
Layman, I say to
At
zero.
the end?
Pardon?
Zero, mean
0? Are you sure?
zero is a value, sorry.
Pardon? Did you say 0?
So is nil as in like it's finished, like to end it here?
An empty.
Are you who said finished?
Jack.
Are you responding or you are talking
No,
to somebody?
I'm responding to your question.
Okay, you are responding to the question.
Yeah.
How does null become finished?
Do you want to see? I'll just guess it, to be honest.
Oh no. I'm not we're having a discussion. Don't feel there's no answer that is every answer is sensible. It makes us think about things. So yeah. So don't feel bad about it. I didn't get it right the first time. Nobody does get it right trying. You only get it right when you've tried a few times. So don't feel bad when your answer is not right the first time. Okay?
Thanks.
Right. So yeah. Can any other person say something about null? It's a very, very important and deceptive concept.
Invalid.
So wait,
Invalid? No, not at all.
are you talking about when you have no value in a row or column where they can't put any values?
When you have no value, then there will be no value.
Yeah.
When you have no value, it will be empty. But when you have a null, it simply means that we don't know what is there. It doesn't mean there's nothing there. It's not zero. Null is not zero. A lot of people make that mistake, but don't make that mistake. Null is never zero. Null simply means we don't know what is there. At least in SQL terms, we don't know what is there. That is why it is null. Okay? Right. Let me also introduce one more thing. Let's just start with the comparison condition. When we use the word comparison, what comes to mind? What comes to mind when you hear the word comparison? Anybody? Anybody? Everybody?
So I would say probably judging one thing against another, or yeah.
Okay. Yep, you got an idea. You have a pretty good idea, actually. But it's more than that. It involves a lot more basic things than that. Now, let's go to primary school mathematics or JSS 1. Do you know what the comparison operators are?
No.
Yep. Can somebody help us with the first one? The first and the most common one. Equal to. That's this sign, equal to. Any other one?
I go for greater than.
Pardon?
Greater than.
Okay. Somebody says greater than. Greater than. That will be what sign? How do we show a greater than sign? This, right? Then we have less than. Which is that? Then we have, actually, let me do this first. Equal to Not equal to. How do we write the not equal to?
Equal to sign with a line like just across the-
Cross it.
yeah.
Yeah, but you can, that is when you're writing, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the greater sign and the less sign together. So
Oh,
the less sign can be
oh,
greater sign.
oh, I thought I was waiting for someone. Oh, that's nice. So that another form of it is, this one here. So greater than, less than, then we can also have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So this is 3, that is 4, 5, a lot. We have quite a few, right? 4, 5, 6. I'll leave the rest for you to complete. There are about 8 or 9 or so of them. Right? So that's your homework. Go and complete. Go and look for the other comparison operators. And then we will talk about that next week. Okay? Any questions so far? Yes, I see a hand up. Yeah, prep major. So, who is prep major? That's now Gadi. One of your guys is here.
No, definitely not Anoga. I wanted to ask earlier what the importance of null is then.
What the importance of null is?
Yes, is it to help weed out inaccuracies or
Is it what?
I said, is it to help weed out the inaccuracies in the data? Or because based on what you said earlier, based on my little knowledge, I'm like struggling to see not struggling, but I'm curious rather to know what the importance of the null
Yeah,
function
so
is.
when you don't know what's the when you don't know what value to give an attribute, that is when you put a null there. You don't know what value to give an attribute. Do you get the point?
Okay. I do.
Because if you put 0 there, you are giving it a value, and that value is 0. If you leave it empty, you are saying that nothing is there. But when you don't know whether or not there is a value there, then you put a null. Do you get the point?
Yes, I do. I do know. Thanks.
Because remember, 0 is a value. 0 is something. Though we say it's nothing, it's something. Yeah? What it is that it is 0. Any other question? Let me see if I can see people. Okay, so if there's no other question, then we can bring this lesson to a close, okay? And we'll see you next week. Who did I send the notes to last week?